All right, everyone, here we go. I think hopefully some people will be logging in here shortly, putting your comments or questions in the comments. Day 40, I'm going to try to answer a lot of the questions that came in, and I'm going to get to the main question that a few people have been asking. But I want to answer just a few things up front. It is, what I'm doing is I'm drinking just water. That's the goal. And that's the difference between juice fasting, or I call it juice feasting. If you're having juice, you're having juice throughout the day, you're keeping your caloric intake up, probably having too much fructose, too much sugar, but you're able to get the energy, and there's some detox benefits as long as you mainly do just green juice and not a lot. And so what I'm doing is just water. And then like yesterday, I had to preach a couple services and a long day. So I had a tablespoon of almond butter. And then I brought some grapefruit juice, about 100 calories of grapefruit juice to the service, drank that throughout the service, to kind of keep that energy up a little bit. And then, you're back to water only. So anyway, when I have to do things, I got a memorial service coming up. I've got tons of meetings and Rend the Heavens events where I'm managing the radio network we have. You should check it out at wcfradio.org, wcfradio.org. And I've got 5 kids, we've got sports. And so, I had to find something that works. And so if I have to have a little bit of let's say technically some days 200 calories, some days 50, but over the course of 40 days, you have, let's say 8,000 calories. It's about 3 pounds of fat at 3,500 calories of fat. And so, it's not, to me, it's not that big a deal. Got somebody leaving here. But here's why I talk about the physical benefits quite a bit, because often when fasting, the physical benefits are immediate right now. Wow. This is incredible. What's going on? The body's healing. Pretty much everything I wanted healed has been healed except my eyesight. My eyesight's still blurry. Also, you can see my face I was breaking out a little bit towards the last few days there, which is good. Your skin is releasing toxins. It's normal. But my eyesight is not improved. It's still blurry when I read. But I think if I would have been able to go really deep, but you see those people that go deep, if you're at a fasting clinic, and I don't know anyone who's really went 40 days without being in a fasting clinic, laying down all the time, not having much going on, to do what most of us do. Most of us are busy. We've got to find something that works. Plus, it's been on my heart for about 5 years. I've got notes in my Bible, 40-day fast, 40-day fast. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And so, and also even like having some almond butter in the morning, that's it. You might spark ghrelin. No, it's not ghrelin. It's, the hunger hormone, I forget the exact pronunciation, but then, that's a little bit harder because, okay, now I feel okay to get through preaching, but now you kind of resurrected hunger a little bit. So they're both pretty hard actually. But it's been incredible trying to get to bed early and get to sleep is incredible. 6 hours of sleep, so deep. You just wake up refreshed at 3:34 in the morning. Don't need coffee. That took me a while to get off coffee, even during the fast, and just weaning off and saying, Lord, I'm just going to go for it. Because the thing about coffee is it makes many of us irritable, anxious, angry, frustrated, and it's like fight or flight. So we're always fighting and flighting, and we have these attitudes that go along with it, for sure. So so that's why I talk about the physical benefits of fasting a lot. Why shouldn't we celebrate those? Doesn't God want us to take care of our body? Doesn't he want many people to lose weight, get their cholesterol down, even though I have some thoughts on cholesterol and all those things I'll talk about later. But also, doesn't he want us to be productive? And so that's why I talk about the physical, because they're very apparent. And the spiritual is actually sometimes private. So there are some things spiritually that were incredible. Some strongholds broken, again, with sugar, coffee, also some other things, family dynamics, and it's really encouraging. However, was not walking on clouds for 40 days. It was actually, of all my fasts, it was one of the most challenging in that I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel the because I used to wake up sometimes and just be incredibly full of the Spirit, crying out to God for hours, and other times I would go on long jogs and tons of energy, but I didn't have either. Spiritually, it was, not bad. But here's the thing with fasting. You also always have to remember this, even with Jesus, is fasting examples, often we don't see results during the fast. Like, okay, I'm a week into it. Boom, here's these results. Sometimes you do. Sometimes on the 21st day, I remember a person being healed and set free. Another person, after a week of fasting, their child came home, the prodigal son. And so it does. I mean, we don't know what God's going to do, but often what you're doing is planting the spiritual seeds. You're planting spiritual seeds for a future harvest. And so not feeling like it, not, feeling all the goosebumps, but that's perseverance. That's fortitude. That's strength. That's faith. Actually, without faith, it's impossible to please God. And so we know that even though I don't feel it, feelings, the flesh, we know spiritual benefits are huge. And without faith, it's impossible to please God. So I think looking back, I'm actually excited about this because, Lord, I don't feel a lot. I mean, yeah, you can check out yesterday's sermon. Felt great and just really clear and precise. And a lot of people have commented on it, and that's encouraging. And definitely a lot of things have changed in my life. But it's a hard journey. But I know there's going to be even more fruit later. There is fruit. I can't really, again, talk about private things where I know the Lord is really doing in my heart and where he's getting this voice from Westside Christian Fellowship out into the nation. I've got some meetings coming up. I'm going to a Turning Point event with Charlie Kirk. I'm going to another event where Francis Chan is speaking. It's for pastors only. I've got another thing going on. And so God's opened these doors. We might actually even go live, take live in call-ins on our radio network. That was just transpired recently. And so there's a lot of things that are happening, but it's sticking with it, fortitude. I mean, I end the 40 days is I think at lunch, obviously later. And so I want to answer a few questions, but that's kind of the backdrop. Number one question is, I just want the phone to go out, the lighting here. The big question is, people wonder, well, aren't you supposed to keep your fast private? So if you can read Matthew 6, he talks about when you fast, don't appear that you're fasting, do it in private. And so, yeah, I've taught on that for a decade. I practice that. I often don't tell people when I'm fasting unless God releases me later or people notice, and so, yeah, it's a private thing to God. But just like prayer, when you pray, go into your prayer closet and shut the door. So if we're going to follow that line of reasoning that we never tell anyone about fasting, do we never pray with anyone? Of course not. We know that corporate prayer is vital. We know that corporate fasting is vital. Look at Joel, look at Esther, Nineveh called a corporate fast. And so, it is biblical to say, okay, Lord has released me. We're doing a corporate fast. I'm going to lead the way. I'm going to give results and updates. And so people can be encouraged and motivated. And so the heart behind Matthew 6 is, it actually was a modern day Pharisee. The Pharisees weren't even believers. They weren't even saved. And so Jesus is addressing to that. Also, it has practical application to us. So it's not like, oh, I'm on Facebook, man, this is day 3. Oh, this is so hard. And people are like, oh, you're so spiritual. You're so spiritual. That is so incredible. And then, oh, I'm a week into it. And man, I'm just, and you got your applause from men. We're not supposed to be doing that. This is a private fast. When God calls you to do that. And I've done many of those over the years. I mean, most of mine have been private. But as a pastor, as a leader, calling the church to a corporate fast, calling the nation to a corporate fast, the word corporate fast, somebody said, isn't in the Bible. Well, the word Trinity isn't in the Bible. The word Bible isn't in the Bible. The concept is calling the people to fast. Somebody's got to lead the way. And so, do I do it perfectly? Maybe not, probably not. Is God not happy that I'm doing this? I don't think so. I think a lot of us, we run the risk of being an armchair quarterback and a judgmental Jerry and hey, let God lead. I mean, I get convicted that I wasn't nice to someone. I get convicted that I should have been a little bit gentler with my kids. And so God hasn't convicted me not to share all this stuff. It's actually the opposite. Right before the fast, I felt released to let's take this national. There's too much on the line. And so what happens is you have to be careful because you then become a heart inspector. How do you know my heart? How do you know what God has been doing in my heart for 5 years? Now, if it's a clear disregard for scripture, it's a no-brainer. But there's gray area here because the context of Matthew 6 is a hard, arrogant, boastful heart. Jesus said, when you pray, when you fast, when you give, do all these things in private because your heart is make sure your heart stays humble. So that's my thoughts on that. I mean, there's just a lot of biblical support on calling people to fast. Again, I don't do it perfectly. Did I talk too much about it? Maybe. Did I talk too little about it? Maybe. And people are like, you shouldn't talk about your weight or any of that. Why not? Why not celebrate that the physical body's being blessed too, as long as the spiritual is the first and foremost. Can't we talk about the physical benefits as well? And so another question that's coming in, what's my first meal going to be? Well, this is a little different because, if you follow like Alan Goldhammer, I've emailed him a few times. We talk now and then. And again, I don't endorse these people necessarily because, they're not Christians. Or I don't remember his name. Lauren Laughlin down there in Costa Rica thinks you should just eat fruit all the time. I mean, I'm going to talk about this May 21st. If you're listening to this later, find the May 21st Health Expo message. I'm going to talk about what does the Bible say about food. We need to stop listening to all these, carnivore, just eat meat all day. Well, that sounds pretty good, for a while. But what's the pitfalls to that? There are some benefits. What about keto? What about vegetarian, paleo? All these different things. I'm going to discuss that. We have to look at, though, from a biblical perspective. So anyway, back to these guys, these doctors. They do, like, you're just laying there, and if you're sick for 6 hours, you're laying there. There's no kids around. There's no responsibilities. And you can really go deep into autophagy, deep into ketogenesis. And so your first meal, your microbiome has been reestablished, or a lot of it gone. Your digestive system is asleep. And so you got to just, hey, wake up. Wake up, flesh, your wake up stomach, and you have a little bit of orange. Maybe it takes you 4 hours to eat an orange, a little bit of juice. And so you're just waking it up. If not, you got to do that for a few days, like bone broth. I mean, they'll recommend if you go long, you got to go long. I mean, I'd say if somebody did a 40-day fast, you can find those on YouTube. You're going to have to go a good week with just barely introducing things. And then that's hard because now you've sparked that hunger, like I've done it, over the course of this fast. And so on one hand, I'm kind of glad I did that because now I think I can handle this refeeding syndrome better. And what happens if you just picture a fire in the fireplace. Okay, it needs, hey, throw a little bit of wood on that fire. Okay, you throw a little bit of kindling, a little bit of wood. What happens if you dump a whole cord of wood on that fire? It's out. And so that's what happens when you just start to consume. And I'm so hungry, and your body is hungry. It's the hunger hormone is taking in and hungry. We've got to replenish all this. So it takes as much discipline to end the fast as it does to begin the fast. So because I've been having a little bit now and then, I don't think I need to watch this as carefully. But I'll probably start with maybe some orange juice. I'll be in prayer first and just seeking God, the heart of God, and then some bone broth, and then maybe later that evening a salad, and then I'll kind of work in later on how that works. Let's see what other questions came in. You guys have some more questions? Let's see. It's kind of hard to read with the sun hitting it. You may have not felt it as much as you thought, but you know what? Yeah, let me see if I can enlarge this a little bit. Yeah, okay, I'll read that one later too. Good stuff. Any questions coming in? Let's see. All right. Well, a lot of people watching, but not as many asking questions. I think I've answered a lot of them. And you can find a lot of these from, you can rewind this and listen to the beginning. You can find a lot of the answers to your questions in my books on fasting. You can download them free downloads. You can even put in the search bar probably once you download the book and find your topic. Can I drink coffee fasting? Can I drink herbal tea fasting? And again, it's how serious do you want to get? Because coffee has got a lot of caffeine. And if you're my pulse rate dropped from about 80 to about 60, even in the high 50s, you're saving about 28,000 beats a day. Even when I just went on just a walk this morning, my heart rate never went above 68. And so, I don't know what my point was on that. Heart rate, blood pressure, everything benefits from it. Everything is in my book. And when with coffee, the thing with coffee is it's a drug, it's a stimulant. So you're constantly stimulating the heart. But on fasting, it's counterproductive. So I would encourage people to wean off coffee. I did have some green tea, a little bit of green tea. I don't feel anything near as much as I do with coffee. It's about 30 grams of caffeine in green tea versus 200 in coffee. No, you're not supposed to have coffee, but Jason Fung, I follow him too. Great information. Again, evolutionary perspective they have. If you have diabetes, his resources would be good. Jason Fung. He encourages people to drink, it's okay to drink coffee. The reason is a lot of these guys are addicted to coffee, so they don't want to give up their addiction. And so they oh yeah, you can fast with coffee. Give me a break. It's not only that, the ingredients in coffee, the chemicals of the glyphosate and the glyphosate and the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, and you're taking all these toxins, but you're fasting to get rid of the toxins. To me, it's counterproductive. Herbal tea doesn't have any calories, but you are providing nutrients. And so how deep do you want to go? I mean, most of us can't go that deep, but if you can, great, go for it. But water only is water only. And that's what I did. And unless I had to, we had church services every night about a month ago. I had to have a little bit, brought some juice with me, got through it. But eventually the body gets adapted. And now, man, I don't know about some of you, but I could not go to bed at night without eating something. I'd wake up at 11 at night or 12 at night, have to have some cereal, and a lot of that has to do with glucose levels, you taking in too many carbohydrates. I'm going to talk about that all May 1st as well, May 21st at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can turn in live there. But now that's completely gone. Like, I can't believe I can just go to bed, lay down around 8:39 and just fall asleep pretty quick. But for some people, fasting has a reverse effect. So be prepared. And that has happened to me. My first couple fasts, I could not sleep. I was like, just, what is going on? And it's 11 o'clock. I can't go to sleep. That's because cortisol, adrenaline, a lot of these hormones are being released, and you just can't fast. So I can't sleep. So if you're planning on fasting, get medical supervision, of course, talk to your doctor, but understand, this might be challenging. I might not sleep as well as I thought initially. It might take some time. But also when you're fasting, you don't need as much sleep. You really don't. I mean, probably 5-6 hours and you're good to go. And so sleep, that has been incredible. Now, if you have a hard time falling asleep, I've done this probably 3-4 times. I took some valerian root. It's a natural sleep aid, valerian root. And there's valerian root tea or a capsule. And man, within 40 minutes, I'm just like, I could go to sleep right now. And there's really no, not too many adverse reactions, side effects, and different things. Let's see. Will the Health Expo and message be available to watch after? Of course. Let's see. Discipline. Do not go back to the old food. Yeah, and that's a good point, Karen. I just talked to many of you know Michael Brown, Dr. Michael Brown. We've built a friendship over the years. I mean, solid guy. All these things that people say about him, part of this or part of that, I don't find any of that credible. I mean, one of the most solid guys I know, well balanced. But he's got a book. I can't remember the name. Something about food. Just put in that in food. And boy, it's convicting, but it's true. Just as much as we bow down to King's stomach. And so I even told him today, my biggest goal is to not go back to 230 pounds. And it's now to steward the self-discipline that God has put into me. And the reason I wanted to go public and share this with you is it's helping. I'm amazed at the people it's helping. Facebook posts, Twitter posts, Instagram, people at our church emailing us, a website, that they're being encouraged and strengthened. They're giving up this addiction, this stronghold. This one broke cigarettes. This one broke alcohol. This one is off their pain meds. This one is got off their diabetes medication because they got their body. And so the fruit, see, that's everything. You have to look at the fruit that is being produced. You will know them by their fruits, talking about a false prophet. But Jesus said also, wisdom is justified by her children. In other words, they're accusing Jesus of these things. Jesus said, look at the fruit. So that's all I'm saying too, is look at the fruit. So yeah, the key, the big mistake, Karen, great question. The big mistake most people make. We should get you on here too sometime, Karen. I think I can. She helps a lot of people with nutrition at our church. You can reach out to Karen Hicks. Hope that's okay. But we should do a interaction at some point. I just said figure out how to do it. Now I forget what I was going to say. Anyway, the self-discipline. You've got the biggest mistake people make is, the fast is over. Like, I know family members, I won't say names, but the fast is over. All right, here we go. In and out and ice cream and back to the old habits. If you go back to the old habits, see, fasting isn't a cure. It just positions the body in such a way where your environment now can be reset, your microbiome reset, inflammation reset, HDL, which is high density lipoproteins, and LDL, low density lipoproteins, which I don't think are bad really. Those are at a healthy level. Triglycerides and all these blood pressure, everything is reset. So now you got to steward it. Why would you want to go back to the thing that put you in the position you're in? Now, does that mean I won't have a bite of this or a bite of that. Who knows? I mean, I'm not really craving those things. So I want to keep stewarding this environment. And so here's the thing with fasting. Also remember this. Fasting is a lifestyle. It's a fasted lifestyle. It's not like, okay, man, come January 1st, I'm going to fast, and then we go back to our bad habits by April. And then in June, I'm going to fast, and then we go back to our bad habits. It's a fasted lifestyle where it's who we are. Yeah, we blow it from time to time. I'll blow it from time. Let me tell you a funny thing about temptation this morning. I told my wife, it's amazing. Like, if you were to put a banana bread, soft, freshly baked banana bread with chocolate chip cookies in front of me, on a day where I've been eating, I'm like, oh, that's tough. The flesh is screaming. It's looking good. The sugar's calling my name. But this morning on day 40, I opened the cover to get a cup, and my daughter put a piece of banana bread with chocolate chips, homemade, right there for my wife the next morning, today. And so I grabbed that thing. I'm like, wow, no pull at all. I just put it back and went on my business. It's like, how does it lose that strength? I mean, there's so much strength in sugar and carbohydrates and things like that. I'm going to talk about all that, complex carbs, simple carbs, fat soluble fiber, how it affects the body. I'm going to have to really just get right to the point to help you on May 21st, because there is hope. Trust me, there's hope. But we've got to change how we think about refined oils and increasing omega-6 acids, and how we think about carbohydrates and sugar, the wrong kind of carbohydrates, and what is your lifestyle? What are you trying to accomplish? And so I'm going to answer a lot of those questions that come in. Also, if you have any questions about anything, put those in the comments too, maybe now or when this video is uploaded later. That way I can try to answer those on the 21st. Let's see now. Jason Fung is amazing. Yes, man, talk about great information. What blows my mind with all these people is, look how the body works. The mitochondria and the ATP is being released, and it does autophagy and apoptosis, and all these things are taking place at the cellular level, and then it controls insulin. Then your insulin resistant cells begin to open up, and then all this just happened. Like evolutionary processes just happened. You have lost your mind. It's a creator, a well-designed plan by a creator. That's the only thing that just irks me with a lot of these guys is. But, in our culture, unless you really know God, it's embarrassing to admit you know God. And all these doctors, I mean, Peter, check out, I think it's Peter, company, Tia, A-T-T-I-A. I might got the wrong right, but I think it is Peter. I don't know. It's been a little while. But man, talk about knowledge. Whoa. Or Jordan Peterson. Is that his name? Jordan Peterson from Canada. I just watched a video one of the most brilliant minds I have heard in my lifetime. It's like, we got to run to the evolutionary thought so we can appear to keep our, appear to keep our academia and our knowledge and be well-studied. Well, there's no God in evolution. And that's actually, it looks more foolish to many of us, because we can see clearly there's a creator. You're not going to walk into your car and say, how did this car get together? Boy, that must have took a long time if it was done by evolution. Of course not, I'm poking fun here. But anyway, let's see. Any other questions coming in? Strongholds are addicted. Do you have the directions on how to do the fasting on your website? I do not, but it's probably in my book, Feasting and Fasting, or 40 Days to Reset Your Life. It's all at the church website. You can download those for free. Obviously, you can get them on Amazon Kindle and different things, but we wanted to offer free downloads because those other places won't let us, they're obviously, Amazon's not going to print books for free. And so I talk more about that. And what I try to tell people is, don't follow me. What I want them to do is spend time with God and just really get convicted about certain areas. And, a Daniel fast, it's, to me, I call it the Daniel healthy eating program, because fasting, biblical fasting is just, you're done, just water only. But, those things are really good for health, really good for spiritual insight. Look at what Daniel accomplished, avoiding meat and delicacies and different things. And it's funny sometimes. I mean, Daniel really didn't use the word fast. Moses didn't use the word fast. Jesus, I don't know if they used the word fast. What they'd say is they didn't eat or drink, or they didn't eat for this many days. So anyway, yes, I would just take it to the Lord. it's all laid out in the books. You know, I recommend if you're a beginner, wean off of all these destructive things. You know what they are: nicotine, alcohol, caffeine, processed foods, lots of sugar. And boy, that's going to be hell on earth just right there. So you start to get your body in this prepared state, and then you can go into a season of fasting, maybe try 24 hours, 48 hours. And if you need to drink a little juice to get through that time, maybe you do, you know, take it to the Lord. But I know people who God said, hey, start to fast tomorrow and obey me, and they've been fine, you know. And some people haven't had really bad withdrawal. Some people have. For me, the first week, I'd say, was probably the hardest for sure. Let's see if we've got some more questions coming in. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, on this area of exercise that some of you have been asking about, I would not exercise. You know, another place you can really get some good videos is the Buchheimer fasting clinic in Germany. It's Buchhinger, Buchheimer, Wellingby something fasting clinic. And again, secular organization, but they have people on 200 to 250 calories a day, and they do work out. And their thought is, I mean, it's 100 years of research, and their thought is they've got good, both sides are good. And that's probably, I guess, what I would probably have followed the most. So actually you could, that answers your question, go follow them. And that's more lined up with what I did, even though on some days I didn't have that many calories. Other days I did, and because I felt I had to, I wasn't physically working out. I didn't work out. I walked, did a little stretching, but you know, I was working out with kids and leading the church and all these things. So they say that 250 calories, primarily of carbohydrates, believe it or not, sugar and soup. What it does is fat is usually burned in the furnace of carbohydrates. They say the reason is, let's say you have protein instead. Well, protein isn't a very quick source of energy. Glucose is carbohydrate. So let's say you're exercising, you ate 200 calories of protein. This protein it can't be broken down very easily. So what is broken down if there's no carbohydrates? Well, the protein or your muscle. So your muscle starts to be used as fuel. Gluconeogenesis takes place. Your body converts your muscle into quick energy because you're working out. So that's why they say rest on fasting, just let your body kind of repair itself. And again, that points to, that's not evolution. That's clearly a creator. And so that's why they recommend swimming or light exercise, because you've got that carbohydrate for energy, and 250 calories is not much, let me tell you. And so that they recommend that. And it also, their point is valid too. You see a lot more people actually make it and succeed, because, you know, if I'm going, man, I've been going, let's say, 4 or 5 days, and I got to watch the kids tonight, and I've got to prepare a sermon. If I have some grapefruit juice, 100 calories of grapefruit juice, okay, I feel pretty good. I can get through this. See, that got me through the fast. Normally I'd be like, oh, forget this. This stinks. I can't do this. And so doing something like that actually encourages people to continue. And it's healthy. I've got all these results from it. And I don't know, water fasting would have been, you know, just where I'm at, I don't think it would have been wisdom. Right now, my weight went from 230 pounds, 6'2", 230, to 195 pounds this morning. And so, you know, again, the key is refeeding, keeping that off. And I think we should be good stewards of our bodies. These people say, oh, you shouldn't be talking about that. It's only about spiritual things. Well, number one, they're probably convicted. Number two, there's no scriptural support from that, because Paul says, I discipline my body, I bring it into subjection. Bodily exercise profits a little. Be good stewards of what God has given you. Do all that you do for the glory of God, whether it's eating or drinking. And so, you know, you can't find any support for just letting ourselves go. It's no big deal. And what I've noticed is if physical doesn't matter at all, it's no big deal, then you start to become lackadaisical and lazy in spiritual disciplines, because spiritual disciplines often control bodily appetites and bodily lusts. And so you really get out of balance, because I think physical discipline, the fruit of the Spirit is discipline. Paul said, I discipline myself, diligently seeking God, persevering. These have spiritual benefits as well. So let's see, any last minute questions? Hoping to talk a lot more about this on May 21st. Let's see, I'll try to scroll to the bottom real quick. Another question comes in also, should kids fast? I have all that in my book as well. I would suggest not, but I can I can tell you that they will benefit greatly from not, I want a snack now, I want crackers now, I want cookies now, I want this. Constantly feeding them, we're really setting them up for failure as they get older. And I'm preaching to myself. It's a hard one, I know. But I think we can tell kids, hey, let's wait till lunch. Let's wait. When I grew up, it was breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Snacks? when did that come in? And so I think we can steward that well. I do know a 15, 16-year-old that did 40 days water only. I supervised a lot of it, saw it really, and the benefits were incredible. And after the first week, she did incredible. It was pretty impressive. That's actually what motivated me, to be honest with you. But she was able to lay down and not do much, and which as adults, that's kind of hard. So let's see. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. Last call for questions. Also, what would you say was the hardest part of the fast? There were a couple different times. Well, the bottom line is perseverance. The bottom line is when you're moody, you're hungry, things are happening. So this time I said the power of the made up mind. Okay, my kids acting up have knocked me off course before. Things happening at church, problems, situations, challenges have knocked me off course before. But this time I said, you know what? Have fits. I'm taking a drive. Whatever happens at church, I believe God is wanting me to do this. I'm just going to roll with the punches. But so that would be the hardest part and actually you're not, my cotton mouth isn't bad anymore. I'm kind of waiting for hunger to return. And so that's been the hardest part, is obviously persevering through it. Believe it or not, the hunger isn't what people would think. Now, the first four days, I'd say 3 days, you're fighting the hunger monster for sure. But once that comes into submission and you switch to keto bodies, ketones, they call it ketogenic diet, keto, that type of diet. What happens is when your body switches to fat for fuel, the toxins are released more and you start to not feel too well. So that during that release is when, definitely gets a little bit challenging. So that would be, my biggest challenge, was that. Let's see. Are you only doing juice? How much and when? Erica, you probably should go back and rewind. I talked a lot about that at the beginning. I talked about having a tablespoon of almond butter yesterday before church, and that really helped. I felt great. In the morning, I felt really good. Incredible. And then an hour or so later, I'm like, oh man, this is hard, and I got to go preach. And then we got prayer meetings. We got a lot going on. So I took a tablespoon of almond butter. There's really no pull there because it's not that great tasting. So that helped. And then I did bring, about 16 ounces of grapefruit juice, 12 ounces of grapefruit juice to church, and then sip that while I was preaching. And so that was it for yesterday. So the thing with juicing is if you decide to have juice, my problem with juicing was, okay, I'm gonna have juice in the morning. A couple hours later, I want juice again. A couple hours later, I'm hungry again. I want juice again. A couple hours later, I want juice again. I want juice again. I want juice again. So I was just continually feeding nutrients into my body, and I was mainly fructose too. And that kind of goes against a lot of what you're trying to accomplish. So, people have had huge benefits on it. I'm not against it at all. I just think, make sure you think it through. And for me, fasting was fasting. But if I know I'm gonna have juice throughout the day, I'm probably gonna have a lot of juice. So that's why I chose just periodically when I would need it. There are many times where I would just fight through something. But if I had a big responsibility, I felt the greater responsibility was to fulfill my responsibility, whether it was to preach 3 services on Easter, than it was to have a cup of juice. Now, the armchair quarterbacks, the fasting, gurus, and, that's not really fasting. Well, you know what? I just look at the fruit and I say, praise God. And I say it was fasting. So, you guys, praise God, you're not my God. But to some extent, they're true. I mean, true, deep fasting using water only, that's a whole different dynamic that takes place. And you probably lose a lot more muscle and different things. So it's just where God had me. Let's see. Would it be okay to take, can't get that exact word. I don't know what, I have to, maybe the way that sun's, would it be okay? Let's just fill in the blank. Would it be okay to take something with your fast, whether it says creatine or vitamins or something? Again, all my books have all this information, and I only recommend those because I go into a lot more detail than what I can answer here. But You can do whatever you want if it helps and you feel released to do it. But my thought is on whatever that is. I mean, it looks like creatine, but I know it's not spelled creatine. But supplements. Normally, you don't have to take vitamins and minerals because your body is pulling. Did you know you have stored vitamins and minerals in your fat cells? And as you're losing fat, you're releasing those vitamins and minerals. I also talk about dry fasting in my book. Wouldn't really recommend that too much. I did a little bit of that for 12 hours. But I did take some potassium, magnesium, and sodium, some trace minerals about 10 days in, because I was just, man, I'm not feeling good. This is not going to be good. And that really helped. I mean, I felt, okay, the electrolytes kicked in. I felt pretty good. So, you have your physician, checking you out and maybe having supervision, of course, and doing some education, and you want to use wisdom. See, that's the thing. God calls us to something, but we also want to use, wisdom when we're doing it. Oh, L-carnitine. I think that's amino acid. I mean, you could, but if you start taking branched chain amino acids and other things, let me explain why they recommend not doing any of that. Let's say you take vitamin C during a fast, but the whole point of fasting is to go deep into autophagy and ketosis, and you are stressing out your body. It's a good stress. Your body's stressed. Now it's got to produce now it has to produce an immunity response and to increase your immune system. And that's a wonderful thing about fasting. It increases your immune system. So if you're taking vitamin C and echinacea and elderberry, and it's kind of counteracting what your body wants to do.